So if you're trying to grow your law firm, you're probably wondering whether you should do social media, whether you should do Google, or which one to focus on and which one's better. So I'm going to actually answer that question in this video and show you what the differences are between these two. Basically, there's a massive difference between social media in general and Google because they rely on two different types of traffic. If you think about social media, and I'm just going to blanket cover all of them because in terms of traffic they're very similar. They are on a different platform and they're not necessarily looking for anything, with the exception of YouTube. In some cases they can be, and basically things are popping up for them. And so what that happens there is that relies a lot on either right place, right time, or impulse purchases, both of which are not really conducive to law firms or people who need a lawyer right now. It is possible to make it happen. Like if somebody just happens to need a lawyer and Facebook shows them the right ad, that can happen and that can work. However, the thing there is that they're not necessarily looking for anything specific, and that's the important thing to keep in mind. Now, when it comes to Google, on the other hand, when people go on Google, they are specifically looking for something. They've actually taken the time out of their day to open up Google and type something in to find some either information or a solution to a problem a lot of the times. And so if you're a law firm, that's usually when you want to try and capture people who are looking for a lawyer, because when someone needs a lawyer, it's usually an urgent problem they need resolved relatively quickly. It's urgent enough for them to actually open Google and go and try and find someone, and the volume of people looking for basically all kinds of lawyers on Google does support this. There's a lot of people looking for lawyers every month, like tens of thousands, if not more, depending on where you are, obviously, looking for all kinds of lawyers. And so people do it, and it's because they need a solution now. And so the difference between Google and social media is that on social media, like I said, nobody's really scrolling through social media, sees an ad for a lawyer, and is kind of like, oh, I need a lawyer now all of a sudden. It just doesn't really happen. Whereas like if you're selling like certain shoes or something like that, you know, they can impulse buy them, and you kind of rely on the impulse buy. And you're just not going to get an impulse buy being a law firm, because nobody on impulse needs a lawyer, right? So that's why Google tends to work a lot better. And in my experience running Google marketing for about a dozen different law firms over the last couple of years, this is the thing I've seen, is that it works extremely well, because you can catch people at that right moment when they go on Google to look for a lawyer. You can show up in front of them. And now obviously you need to get their attention. You need to explain to them why, you know, what makes you stand out and all these other factors. But basically just looking at it simply, social media versus Google, if you're not sure which one to do or you haven't maxed out Google, I would highly recommend that you use Google in like 98% of cases. There might be some odd form of law, like some practice area that's very niche, people don't look for it, something like that, in which case social media could work. But as a general rule for law firms overall, especially if you're offering any kind of the usual types of law, like wills and estates, family, even commercial, criminal, personal injury, all those kinds of things, there's so much volume on Google. There is people who need a lawyer now that you may as well go there, max it out completely, get as much of that traffic as possible, and then worry about looking at other areas. And by that point, you'll be a big law firm spending a lot of money on marketing at the point where you need to expand into things like social media. So that's my opinion on the matter. Having looked at all this and obviously worked with law firms to help them grow, I would recommend focusing on Google. And if you want my help with Google for your law firm to help you grow and make at least $1 million a year or more, you can click the link below in the description. You can go to my website, book a call with me, and I'll see how I can help. Talk then.